As we continue our discussion this weekend with the folks from Bigiron, let's talk about how an individual prepares, how the team at Bigiron works with that seller of equipment at Bigiron Auctions. Joining us here at the desk is Maverick Woodside, Director of Auction Services. Auction Services, what all does that involve, Maverick?
Yeah, so a lot of folks might not know it, but we have a huge team of people that help support our auctions and prep that equipment prior to the sale. So we have folks that come in and detail, move equipment, stage equipment, take photos, take detailed descriptions. It's a really thorough process that goes into getting ready for an auction.
You mentioned detailing equipment. That's to put it in its best appearance, and appearance does matter, doesn't it?
That's absolutely correct. We take a lot of pride in presenting that equipment in the best light possible pre-auction, and that's really important to us. We bring in pressure washers and guys that are really skilled at getting stuff as presentable as possible for a sale.
Do you ever have any owners who say, well, do you really need to do all that stuff? I mean, some of them might wonder about the value that is brought, but it actually can relate to dollars and cents, an increase in value.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'd say there's a lot of sellers that are surprised at the amount of work that we go to. When we come into a farmer's yard, we'll do everything above and beyond to make sure that that stuff will be shed in the best light possible.
The public inspection is an important part of the whole process when folks can actually look at it. How does that work? Give us a feel for that.
Yeah, as Mark alluded to, we don't have public outcry auctions anymore, so it's really important for folks to still see that equipment. So we'll often schedule an inspection day. Folks will come out, view the equipment, visit with the seller, really get the seller's story behind that equipment, and we again think that drives performance on these auctions.
I have heard that in this interaction that takes place between your team that comes onto the farm and that often farm family selling the equipment, there's a relationship there that after the sale, in fact, people really appreciate that time it was spent together.
That's right. We still hear from sellers all the time. Oftentimes our guys that go out and set these sales up might spend more time with that seller than the actual rep does because of the time it takes to get this stuff ready. So we still have sellers reach out all the time. They'll send us text message, check in on us. They'll see us on the road and give us a call. So yeah, the relationship we build with those sellers is pretty remarkable.
I feature old tractors in a segment on our television show, and I always tell folks, get around there. Show me the various aspects of that old tractor. The staging, the setup for the photography, just like folks who are involved in the livestock business, getting that best shot is crucial in maximizing the value of the equipment, isn't it?
Absolutely. We pull stuff out, get it in the best light possible, pay close attention to the background when we take images. Again, it's just trying to represent that equipment to the best of its ability for the seller to drive that price performance.
I've heard it's been busy out there over the past few weeks. Let's go to the field to find out. Cody Hol is right in the heart of the country, and I understand, Cody, it's been a busy past few weeks for you.
Max, I wanted to touch base with you from the Midwest region. We just came off a record fall with over 109 equipment and land auctions in November and December alone. We couldn't be more excited about what we have coming in the spring of 2024, consisting of land, equipment, livestock, classic car, and dealer auctions. We look forward to serving our current and future customers in the coming year.
My goodness, Cody, you've been busy. Classic cars, I heard you say as well. Let's switch now to Colby Hennis in Illinois to give us an update on what's happening in her part of the country, what she sees. Colby?
Hey Max, we have a bunch of great auctions coming up here after the first of the year in the state of Illinois. Our first auction to kick us off has a bunch of late model John Deere equipment coming to us from Tampico, Illinois on the Greg and Nancy Forward Retirement Auction. It will take place on January 16th, and then we'll move to Shelbyville, Illinois for the Kevin McKittrick Retirement Auction. Also late model John Deere equipment on that auction. And then kind of towards the end of the month, we'll move to Indris Farms auction, which will be on January 23rd in Henry, Illinois. For more information on these retirement auctions, please look at our websites, sullivanauctioneers.com and bigironauctions.com. Back to you, Max.
Hey, thanks, Colby, for that report. You mentioned some communities we know very well. We've traveled into some of those places over the past few years. As we come back to visit here a little bit about all that goes into selling, Maverick, I guess one thing that comes to mind is how your team operates on the ground there. And it's not just cleaning, it's not just staging of the equipment. There's a lot that goes into it, including interaction with the family or absentee owners who perhaps are selling the equipment. Tell a bit about that.
Absolutely correct. Yeah, I mean, even after a sale, we can go in and load out that equipment if they're an estate sale where they don't have that ability to help load out the equipment. We offer that service as well. And it's just important to remember that a lot of folks that go through retirement or estate sale, they're going to do it one time, and we have an obligation to get it right. That's what our business has been founded on for the last 40 plus years. And so we take a lot of pride in that, and that's what we feel separates us from others.
So you talk about helping load out the equipment. You'll bring your own equipment in then to help facilitate that process.
That's right. We have skid steers, wheel loaders. We can rent equipment if needed to bring in, but we're well equipped to help a seller disperse that equipment after the auction.
So end to end, you help that landowner.
That's right. Yeah, we feel like it's a white glove service. When we come in and help you with your sale, we're going to handle everything from start to finish. We have a listings team in the background that verifies listings, looks at titles, make sure everything is in order so that when we do go to sell that equipment, it's guaranteed to be correct.
I bet some of these folks who sell equipment have seen your personnel on their property before. There's quite a bit of repeat business, I would imagine.
That's right. This type of service leads others to our front door as well. You know, word of mouth is very impactful, and again, when we go out on the farm and we can resonate with a seller, they'll tell other sellers, and one thing kind of leads to another.
This can be kind of a challenging experience for some, selling the equipment. I think of the emotion that can be wrapped up in it. You've worked with this equipment throughout your career. Some of these pieces of equipment may have been there with you from the very beginning. Maybe you're torn as to whether or not you want to sell that old Super M or some of the older tractors that you had. I would imagine your field representatives are more than happy to have that conversation and bring out some important points that the seller should be thinking about.
Absolutely. It is an emotional thing. When a farmer sells a tractor, he spent hours in that tractor. He remembers buying it. He remembers changing the oil on it. And we just try and guide them through that process and help them understand why those things are important and how we can best highlight that for them throughout the auction process.
Is there anything we wouldn't ordinarily think about that your team members handle out there on the scene when we're talking about auction services? There's a lot that goes on before and after, but is there anything that maybe just wouldn't occur to you that your folks have done in the past and are prepared to do?
Yeah, there's always oddball things that might need done. There could be several farm locations that we may need to help, collect all that equipment up and get it to one central location for the seller. That's something we often do. And I think a lot of people are always surprised when we come in with our own equipment and help them line that up. But again, it's a start to finish process. And I think some sellers are under the impression that they got to do a lot of work. When you hire Bigiron, when you hire Sullivan Auctioneers, we're going to get you through that entire process.
One thing that occurs to me is there are days perhaps when you're out there to photograph and to stage the equipment. Maybe they're not perfect in terms of weather, but you work with that. Your photographers, no doubt, know what they're doing, know how to set up the equipment, know how to position it to put it in the best light.
Absolutely right. In fact, if we got to go back once, twice, 3 times to get that best picture, we'll do it. I've often sent guys back out in the field to produce a better image because it's important. It's what we take pride in. It's what we're known for, and we take it very, very seriously. And
among that team there on the ground working with that seller will be a local representative, right?
That's right.
Bigiron?
Yep, that's right. We often work with the sales rep in the field. They help us take pictures. They, again, guide that seller through the whole process while we're there with them.
Maverick, thank you so much for sharing the story with us. It's a great story. Maverick Woodside joining us here on this special edition of This Week in Agribusiness. Oh yes, land will be on our radar screen in just a few minutes too, as we'll be visiting with Dan Sullivan in this special edition of our broadcast this weekend. This Week in Agribusiness, wrapping up 2023 and moving right into the exciting new year ahead.